Hi, welcome back. In the previous video, I gave you some clue on what you'll be doing in this section. And we talked about comparing words, which is one of the main activities you can do in natural language processing. You compare if this text is that text, and you try to find out if they mean the same thing. So this is what I'll teach you in this lecture, how to do that. So let's take an example. Let's say we have these two words. They have the same meaning. They derive from the word be, the verb be. So how can we find out that, how can we tell that these are the same verb? Of course, if you just do x is equal to y, you get false. So how can we get true for this? This is where natural language processing comes in, and we do natural language processing using a few libraries. The main one is called NLTK. NLTK, which stands for Natural Language Toolkit. It's a third-party library which you need to install, but on DeepNote you don't have to do that because it's already installed. I'm using DeepNote as a notebook. Now, NLTK provides a lemmatization function, which allows you to find out the root of a word. So in this case, we want to find out the root of was and the root of is, which is be. So the root of was is be, the root of is be, and then we want to compare if the root of that word is the same with the root of that word. So be is the same with be, therefore we will get true. So the idea is to find the root of the word. You do that by importing from NLTK.stem, you import the word net lemmatizer class. This is a class, so you want to create an instance of that class first. So I'm going to execute this. Successful. Create a new code cell with Ctrl J or Command J, and I'm going to call this variable lemmatizer, which is equal to word net lemmatizer with parentheses. So now we have a lemmatizer instance which we can use in this other cell to get the root of a verb. The root is also known as the lemma of the word. So I'm going to have a variable lemma is equal to lemmatizer, the object instance that will help us through the lemmatize method to get the lemma of the words. So the first argument is the words, and in this case it would be x, so the word was, x contains that string, so x. And the second argument, as you see here, so the first was the words, the second is the part of speech tag, also known as the pos. So this is where you define what type of word this is. So you need to say that this is a verb. Now this can also be automatic, so we can let Python understand the root of the word, but we'll do that later. So let's take it step by step for now. Let's tell Python that this is a verb, so the lemmatize method knows how to get the lemma of that word. So V for verbs, A for adjectives, R for adverbs, and S for satellite adjectives. And N, of course, is the default one. If you don't want to place an argument here, then it will be a noun. So a verb is this in our case, and let's call lemma here to see the version of was. Now we get this lookup error the first time when you execute this, and that is because you first need to download the word net dictionary, which contains all the English words, because you're trying to get the lemma of this word, but you need a database to get that information, right? And this database should be an English dictionary. for this method to look up the lemma of the words. So before you do that, you want to create a code cell and do nltk.download wordnet. Execute that. We need to import nltk. So execute again. Yeah, so it downloaded and unzipped this wordnet file. So let's execute again. And this is the output. So B is the lemma of that word. Similarly, we can get the lemma of the other words. So let's call this lemma 1. And the other words would be lemma 2 is equal to lemmatizer. Lemmatizer, the same instance that we got here, dot lemmatize. This time is Y, that word. So is, and this is also a verb. Lemma 2 is again B. So then we can compare lemma 1 is equal to lemma 2, but let me execute the lemma 1 variable first because we renamed it. Lemma 2, execute. There we go. So now we are saying that these two words are the same. And that is how you do that. So let me put all the code in one single cell to make it look better. This, maybe it's better to have it on top here, or even in a separate cell, because this should be only executed once. You only have to download that once, that dictionary. And then we created the lemma of the first word, and then we created the lemma of the second word. And then we compared if lemma 1 is equal to lemma 2. And we got true. So that's how you compare words by taking the meaning of the words into consideration. This, of course, has a problem, because if you try to get another word such as vegetable and compare it with vegetable, so the plural form and the singular form of these two words, you will get false, because you see that lemma 1 is vegetables. So when you have verb as the second argument, this lemmatize function will not know how to get the lemma of that word. But if you say noun, then you get vegetable. So you say that this is a noun, and then the method knows how to get the singular form of that noun. So that is a drawback that doesn't let you automatically get the lemma of all the words without knowing what they are, but it has a simple fix. We can simply get the information if this is a noun or a verb, and then provide that information dynamically in here, so that we don't have to know beforehand if this is a verb or noun, an adjective or an adverb. So we'll do that in the next video. See you there.